The first time Derek Hale noticed the bobcat kitten, he thought it was a stray cat. It was still dim outside, that pale blue early morning where everything looks softer than it really is. Derek's bus headlights swept across the rural shoulder as he rolled up to the first stop on Pine County Route 6, the same gravel pull-off he'd been using for years. The kids would be there soon. Backpacks, sleepy faces, the occasional frantic parent waving from a porch. Derek parked, flipped on the flashing lights, and glanced in his side mirror like he always did. That's when he saw it. A small shape trotting along the ditch line, parallel to the bus, moving in that low, quick way cats move when they're trying not to be seen. It paused in the beam of the bus's lights, and Derek's brain adjusted. Not a cat, not domestic. Tufted ears, short tail, spotted coat, a bobcat kitten. Derek's hands tightened on the wheel. "Don't tell me," he muttered, leaning forward. Bobcats lived in the hills beyond Pine County, and every now and then someone would spot one crossing a field or sitting on a rock like it owned the place. But a kitten this close to the road, this close to a school bus route? That was wrong. The kitten didn't run when it saw the bus. It watched, then it trotted closer, stopping near the front tire, keeping a safe distance, but clearly not afraid the way a wild animal should be. Derek felt that cold prick of instinct, the same feeling he got when a kid stepped too close to the curb or a deer lingered too long near the road. Something was off. He cracked his window just an inch and called out without thinking, voice low, "Hey, get out of here!" The kitten blinked, then sat down in the grass, staring at him like it was waiting for something. Derek exhaled slowly and glanced at the clock. 6:11 a.m. The first kids would show up any minute. He couldn't have a wild bobcat kitten wandering around while children climbed onto the bus. He grabbed his radio and called dispatch. "Hey, this is Bus 14, he said. You're not gonna love this. I've got a bobcat kitten at my first stop." There was a pause. "A what?" "A bobcat kitten," Derek repeated, eyes still on the little animal. "It's right near the road. It's not running." Dispatch sounded uncertain. Do you need animal control?" "I need somebody," Derek said, voice tight. "This is not safe." "Okay, stand by," dispatch replied. "We'll notify animal control and the county ranger." Derek thought that would be that. He'd keep kids inside until it left. Animal control would come. The kitten would disappear back into the brush. But the kitten didn't disappear. The first kids arrived. 2 brothers, 9 and 11, jogging down their driveway with backpacks bouncing. Derek opened the bus door only halfway and held up his hand. "Hold up," he called. "Stay on the porch for a second." The boys frowned. "Why?" Derek nodded toward the ditch line. "We've got wildlife." Their heads turned, and the kitten froze, then stepped back into the grass, still visible. The younger boy's eyes went huge. "Is that a baby lynx?" "Bobcat," Derek corrected, keeping his voice firm. "Nobody comes off the porch. Got it?" The boys nodded, suddenly very still. More kids arrived at nearby stops. Derek made them wait at a distance, keeping the bus door closed. He kept his eyes moving constantly. Kitten, road, kids, kitten, road. Then the strangest part happened. When Derek pulled away to reach the next stop, because he couldn't just freeze the whole route, the kitten followed. Not charging, not chasing like a dog. Following. It trotted along the shoulder behind the bus, keeping pace as if the bus was the safest thing in the world to trail. Derek watched in his mirror, disbelief twisting into alarm. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." A wild kitten didn't follow a bus. A wild kitten ran from buses. This one acted like it was trying to keep up on purpose. At the next stop, Derek pulled in, checked his mirrors, and saw the kitten stop about 10 feet back and sit again, staring at the bus door. The kids waiting there saw it too. A girl in a pink coat shrieked, half excitement, half fear. "Look! Back up!" Derek barked, sharper than he intended. "Everybody stay back!" The kitten didn't move toward them. It stayed planted, ears twitching, eyes fixed on Derek as if it didn't care about the kids at all. It cared about him. Derek felt his stomach tighten. He'd seen stray dogs act like this, following a vehicle because they were lost, or hungry, or trying to lead someone somewhere. But a bobcat kitten? His brain struggled to accept it, but his instincts were screaming that this wasn't about curiosity. It was about need. Derek made a quick decision. He'd keep the kids on the bus and drive slowly, letting the kitten trail without getting close to wheels. Then he'd stop at a safer spot and wait for animal control. But the route didn't give him that luxury. The stops kept coming. More kids, more risk. And the kitten kept following. For 15 minutes it tailed the bus, appearing in the mirrors like a stubborn shadow. It never approached too close to the tires. It never darted. It just stayed. Then, at a bend near the creek road, Derek saw the moment that made his blood go cold. The kitten suddenly stopped following. Not because it got tired, because it saw something. It veered off the shoulder toward a section of brush near a culvert, moving faster now, urgent. Derek slammed on the brakes. The bus rocked. Kids yelped and grabbed seats. "What happened?" someone shouted. Derek flipped on hazards and stood, eyes locked on the brush. He saw the kitten disappear into the weeds, then reappear, then disappear again, as if it was circling something. Then Derek heard it, a sound so faint he wouldn't have noticed if the engine wasn't off. A low, desperate chuffing call. An adult bobcat. Close. Derek's skin prickled. He stood at the front of the bus and looked out through the windshield, scanning the edge of the creek. The brush moved. A larger, tawny shape appeared for half a second, then vanished. Derek's mouth went dry. That kitten hadn't been following the bus for fun. It had been trying to stay near humans because something back there was wrong, because it was afraid to be alone, afraid to leave whatever was happening by the creek. And now it had led Derek right to it. Derek grabbed his radio again, voice tight. "Dispatch, this is Bus 14. The bobcat kitten is at Creek Bend near the culvert. I just heard an adult bobcat. I think something's wrong out here. I need animal control now." "Copy. Bus 14, dispatch said, suddenly serious. "Units are en route. Do not exit the bus." Derek stared at the door, hand on the handle. Every protocol said, "Stay inside." Every instinct said a child, or animal, was about to die if nobody checked. He looked back at the kids, dozens of faces watching him, wide-eyed. He forced his voice steady. "Everybody stay seated," he said. "No one opens a window, no one gets up. Understand?" A chorus of nervous yeses. Derek cracked the bus door just enough to step down onto the first step, not fully outside. Cold air hit his face. The kitten emerged from the brush and looked straight at him. Then it turned and trotted toward the culvert opening. Stopped. Looked back. Derek's heart hammered. It was leading him. Again. He stepped down onto the gravel, staying close to the bus. The kitten moved to the culvert mouth and sat, staring into darkness. And from inside the culvert came the sound that made Derek's stomach drop. Scratching and a low, strained growl. Derek aimed his phone flashlight into the culvert and saw a bobcat, an adult, half wedged against the concrete, one paw caught in something shiny near the edge. A snare. A wire loop anchored to a stake tightened around the bobcat's leg. The animal's eyes burned in the flashlight beam. Its sides heaved. It tried to pull, but each pull only tightened the wire. Derek's throat went dry. "Oh my God!" The kitten made a thin cry and pressed closer to the culvert opening, too afraid to enter, but refusing to leave. Derek understood in a sick flash of clarity. The kitten had been following the bus because it couldn't free its mother. It had chosen the largest, loudest moving object it could find. Something connected to humans. and stayed with it until a human noticed. It wasn't tame, it was desperate. Derek backed away, forcing himself not to do something stupid, and stayed by the bus. He didn't have cutters, he didn't have tools, and if he crawled into a culvert with an injured adult bobcat, he'd end up injured too. So he did the only thing he could do. He stayed, watched, and kept the kitten from running into danger. The minutes until help arrived felt endless. The mother bobcat's breathing grew harsher. The wire glinted. The kitten cried in small bursts, pacing a tight line between the bus and the culvert, like it couldn't decide who needed it more. When animal control finally pulled up, followed by a county ranger, Derek felt his knees go weak with relief. The ranger approached first, calm and slow, assessing the situation. "You did the right thing staying with the bus," he said, then glanced at the kitten. "And that little one did the right thing too." Animal control brought bolt cutters and a catch pole. They worked carefully, shielding the adult bobcat's head with a blanket, cutting the snare line, loosening the loop. The bobcat thrashed once, then went still, panting. The moment the wire released, the kitten let out a sound that didn't even register as a bobcat noise anymore. It sounded like relief tearing through a tiny chest. The adult bobcat stumbled out of the culvert, limping badly, but upright. The ranger spoke softly, voice like a lullaby. "Easy, Mama, easy." They guided the bobcat into a carrier for treatment, because the leg was raw and swollen. The kitten paced, frantic, refusing to leave, until the ranger used a second small carrier and a towel to scoop it safely without injuring it. Derek watched from beside his bus, hands shaking, kids staring through windows like they'd been pulled into a movie they didn't ask for. When it was over, the ranger came back to Derek. "That kitten following you, smartest thing it could have done," he said quietly. "If you hadn't noticed, that snare could have killed the mother." Derek swallowed hard. It knew," he said, voice hoarse. The ranger nodded. "Animals know more than we like to admit." The bobcats were taken to a wildlife rehab center. The ranger promised updates because he could see this wasn't just another call for Derek. 2 weeks later, Derek got a message. The mother's leg had healed enough, the kitten was strong, and they were doing a supervised release near the same creek after clearing additional snares. On release day, Derek drove out in his own truck and stood at a distance with the ranger. The carrier doors opened. The kitten burst out first, bouncing with energy, then stopped and turned as if waiting. The mother emerged slower, limping slightly, but alive. For a moment, both bobcats looked toward the road. Toward Derek. Derek's breath caught as the kitten took 2 steps in his direction, then stopped, as if remembering the boundary between wild and human. The mother bobcat chuffed softly, nudged the kitten, and the two vanished into the brush. Derek stood there for a long time after, staring at the quiet creek bend, hearing only water and birds. And the next morning, when he pulled up to his first stop and kids climbed on laughing and complaining about homework, Derek found himself checking the mirrors more often than usual. Not because he expected to see a bobcat kitten again, but because now he knew something he hadn't known before. Sometimes a lost animal isn't lost at all. Sometimes it's looking for the one thing it can't do on its own. And sometimes the smallest creature on the shoulder of a road is the one who understands first that help is coming, if it can only get the right person to notice.